Welcome to the Ask Steph Show. This is my very first episode, so I'm super excited to start answering your questions. So what this show is going to be, it's going to be a simple Q&A show. Every so often, I'll answer 5 different questions straight from you guys. Anything health or fitness related, I am more than happy to answer to the best of my ability. So here's a little bit about my background so you guys know where I'm coming from. I grew up with my mom being a Pilates instructor, and so that really caused me to want to get into Pilates, and I became a certified Pilates instructor with her guidance. And then I went to college and decided I wanted to pursue physical therapy, so I got my doctorate in physical therapy, and now I'm a full-time physical therapist here in Arizona. I really love it. I really love incorporating my Pilates with the therapy, and those two things combined has really helped change a lot of people's lives, which is awesome. And then on top of that, when I married my husband, Zach, he kind of brewed up this newfound passion for weightlifting, strength training, so that's kind of my new love now. With that background, I really enjoy using all that knowledge that I've built up to share with you guys and to share with my online clients. But the thing with that is that a lot of people seem to have a lot of the same questions when it comes to health and fitness related things. So when I keep seeing these same questions pop up over and over, it was like ding, ding, ding. We need to do like some sort of Q&As, because if one girl has this question, I'm sure a lot of you women out there have the same questions. So I want to start tackling your questions. In order to submit questions for me to answer, I ask that you go onto my website, which is beautifultothecore.com. On there, you can subscribe on the home page, get my free 52-page Back to the Basics ebook, and once you're a subscriber and a follower of my site, I invite you to ask questions. Normally, I'll do 5 questions each episode. Today, since it's my very first episode, I'm going to do it a little bit differently and basically just try and tackle one question. This is a very lengthy question with lots of different answers. It's going to take a few minutes to cover it all, but in the future we'll tackle 5 questions each time. So today's topic is gym slang. So I'm sure a lot of you guys who are new to the gym, you walk in and you're hearing all these people chatter about things like sets and drop sets and as many reps as possible and a spot and all these terms, and if you're new, you're probably lost and have no idea what they mean. Today I want to tackle some of the most common gym slang terms to help you feel more comfortable with following a training program and with talking with people at your gym when you're working out. Circuit training is a term you might hear pretty often. This is something that basically involves creating circuits of different exercise that you're just going one by one down the list without taking rest breaks. So say for example, you see a trainer in the gym, they're training someone and they have them do just like a long series of things. It's not like they're doing one exercise over and over and over. They're just like going through a bunch of different exercises in a certain order. So for example, let's say they have them start with some lunges and then they're squatting and then they're doing bicep curls and then they're doing tricep presses and then they're jogging in place. That might be a circuit right there, and then they go back up to the top and start with those lunges again. And they just go through this circuit over and over, no rest breaks. It can be a combination of strength training and cardio type exercises, but the whole idea of that is that you're just keeping that heart rate up the whole time. The next term, which I really, really love, is compound movements or compound exercises. At Beautiful to the Core with my coaching clients, I really put a focus on compound exercises because they are great for you. What it means is that it's an exercise that works more than one muscle group at a time. So for example, say you're going to do weighted squats. You throw the barbell on your back, you're doing squats. Squats are working your entire lower body as well as your core. So they're hitting mostly the quads, hamstrings, glutes, core, more than one muscle group at a time. On the opposite side of compound exercises would be a term called isolated or accessory movement exercises, and we'll cover that later. DOMS is another term you might hear of, and that stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. This basically just means getting muscle soreness after your workout that might last 24 to 72 hours after your workout. So that's very typical to have soreness, especially if you're starting a new training program, trying new different exercises that your body's not used to. You're more prone to getting that muscle soreness afterwards. In order to combat getting that soreness, really make sure you're recovering from your workouts well by getting the appropriate amount of protein intake, drinking BCAAs if you need them, and stretching. Always stretch post-workout. The next term you'll probably hear a lot is drop set. Drop set basically means you're dropping how much weight you're lifting. So let's say I'm doing my bicep curls with 20 pounds. I'm getting to rep 9. Rep 10 is getting pretty difficult. I'm going to place the 20-pound weights down. I'm going to grab 15-pound weights, and I'm going to keep going until I get fatigued again and I can't go anymore without losing my good form. I'm going to put the 15 pounds down, grab my 10 pounds, keep curling it out, and you're basically just trying to go until failure with drop sets. So you just can't do anymore. So that's all done in one set, no rest periods. You're just slowly decreasing how much weight you're using until you hit fatigue. So a good way to practice drop sets is having someone help you out, because that then eliminates the amount of time you have to use to switch weights on the cables or grab different set of dumbbells or whatever. If you have a workout partner, they can get you the next weights for you ready to go, and so therefore you can get right into each. So I mentioned the word failure before, and just to go into more detail with that, it basically means going and doing as many reps as you can until you start having bad form or posture with it. So if you're lifting weights nice and slow, good timing, and then you get to the point where you've got to start swinging and using momentum in order to get the weight up anymore, then that's when you've lost your form and you should just stop there. There's no need to hurt yourself. Another term similar to failure is a forced rep. Now what that means is, say you have hit your failure point, but you have a spotter or a workout partner here next to you, what they can do is help you with just a few more forced reps. So they're spotting you, they're helping you actually lift some of that weight so you can get a few more reps in without losing your form. The term workout frequency is just as it seems, it's how frequent you're working out. Basically just how many times per week you're working out and or how many times per day you're working out. Interval training means alternating different intensities of exercise. Say you have a low intensity exercise and more high intensity exercise. You're alternating between the two, low, high, usually without breaks. So for example, say you want to do something high intensity like jump squats, okay? You're squatting down, jumping in the air, kind of like that plyometric exercise. That would be a high intensity. It's getting your heart rate up. You're pushing yourself 100% intensity there. Say you do 10 of those, then you'd alternate it with a low intensity exercise. For example, just normal body weight squats, just nice and slow, down and up. Taking it easy, you're able to catch your breath on this one. You do 10 of those, then you go back to your high intensity jump squats. And you just keep alternating high, low, high, low. Another term that people use for this sort of interval training is HIIT, which stands for high intensity interval training. And that is more a term coined to describe cardiovascular exercise where you're alternating that high-low. And for that one, people typically do things like sprints outside, they're sprinting and walking, alternating that, or sprints on the treadmill, or sprints on the stationary bike or the cycle bike, sled pushes, that sort of thing. So interval training is a really effective form of exercise because it burns fat and it keeps your metabolism revved up the rest of the day. So I really highly recommend interval training. That's something I always give to my coaching clients, especially if their goal is fat burning. Isolated exercise can also be called accessory movements. Well, the opposite of compound is these isolated or accessory movements. What that means is just focusing on working just one muscle group at a time. So for example, you got the dumbbell, you're doing a bicep curl. That is strictly working those biceps. Nothing else is working with this exercise. It's not working your shoulders, it's not really working the triceps directly, it's focusing on just those biceps. Another example would be just doing some lateral raises out to the side. It's just working those deltoids, nothing else. So we would call those accessory movements. Now, they're great to do, but you don't want your entire workout to be just those accessory movements. You need to get a good, focus on the compound movements. They are going to help you build muscle much more effectively, and then just kind of sprinkle in these accessory isolated exercises here and there to really focus on specific muscle groups that you might be lacking in. Let's talk about negatives and positives. So when you are lifting weight, the muscle is going from a shortened position to a lengthened position. And a term we use in physical therapy is concentric eccentric. A more slang term used in the gym is positives, negatives. Those terms are referring to timing and the length of the muscle. For example, you're doing your bicep curl. As you curl up, the bicep, which comes from the shoulder to the elbow joint, is shortening. We'd call that the positive or the concentric movement. As you come back down, the bicep muscle is lengthening, getting longer, and we call that the negative or the eccentric movement. So when you're lifting, you really want to focus on timing. You can actually build muscle more effectively if you focus on the eccentric or the negative portion. Now this just depends on your personal goals, but that's usually what I focus on. So as I lift, I usually lift for a second or two, and then as I come back down, I let that go for 4 to 5 seconds. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how I'm going down much slower? That's because I'm putting an emphasis on the eccentric because it requires more force from that muscle, and therefore it's going to build it up even quicker. Progression is another term I'm sure you're familiar with, but when it comes to talking about progressions in your training program, that basically just means progressing from, say, week 1 to week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on. There are different ways to progress your abilities. Each time you go into the gym, say on week 1 you're doing your leg workout, week 2 you're going to do that same leg workout, but you want to progress it somehow. You don't want to do the same workout with the same exact number of sets and reps and rest periods each time. You want to progress it and continually challenge yourself and improve and get better. So ways to progress: you could change the number of sets you're doing. You could change the number of reps you're doing. You could increase or decrease your rest period or your breaks in between sets. You could change the frequency or the number of times that you're working out that body group each week. So say leg day, you were doing twice a week, maybe you're going to increase to 3 times a week. Those are all ways to progress and continually get better. Plateau is a word that's commonly used in training regarding someone's personal progress. So we say someone has plateaued if they've seen good gradual progress over time, and then all of a sudden, no progress. And they start freaking out, and they're like, what's going on? There's something wrong with my body. What am I doing wrong? Blah, blah, blah. But honestly, it happens to everyone. Everyone's going to hit some sort of plateau regarding their fat loss or their muscle gaining progress, whatever your goal is. And the thing is, you just have to accept it, and you have to just stick to it and work through it. Because when you give up during that plateau, that's when you're going to start regressing and going back to where you were. So if you hit a plateau, make changes to your program and just keep working hard, and you will get through that plateau, and then you'll see some good steady progress again. Sets and reps. I get this question all the time. Okay, so I'll do my best to try and explain this. Reps means repetition. So how many times you did the movement or the exercise. Say I tell you to do 10 reps of a bicep curl, we're going to go and do that curl 10 times. Okay? So that's what a repetition is. Now, sets is how many rounds of the 10 you're going to do. So if I say do 3 sets of 10, you're going to do 10 reps, take a break, 10 more reps, take a break, 10 more reps, and you're done. Done with that exercise, moving on to the next one. Now when it comes to sets and reps, you should have a certain rest period that you're resting in between each set. So say you just did that 3 sets of 10 and I said rest for 30 seconds in between each, then it would be the 10, rest for 30 seconds, 10, rest for 30 seconds, 10, you're done. So rest periods are very important to pay attention to, and I usually always tell my clients exactly what rest period I want them to take. It can range from 30 seconds up to 2 or 3 minutes. It just kind of depends on what your personal goal is and what you're trying to achieve. A split, when it comes to a training program, is not like the gymnastics split. When people talk about splits, they're talking about what muscle groups or body parts they're working out each day of the week. Here's an example. Say I have a client, they have time to work out 4 days a week. I'm going to have them do an upper body day, let's say chest, biceps, triceps. Lower body, let's say glutes, hamstrings. Upper body, shoulders, biceps, triceps. And then back, quads day, something like that. And the final term I want to cover is supersets. Supersets are really awesome at fatiguing you. I don't like to do them at the beginning of my workout because then I get really tired. So I usually save them towards the end of my workout. A superset is basically where you combine 2 or more exercises and you perform them back to back. So let's say I want to hit the biceps in a lengthened position and a shortened position, and I want to alternate that. I'm going to do some incline dumbbell bicep curls to work them in a lengthened position, and then I'm going to do some preacher curls with the dumbbell to work them in a shortened position. Okay? So lengthened, shortened. What you would do is superset A, B, A, B, and you'd alternate them. So for example, say I want you to do 3 sets of 10. You're going to do 10 of A, 10 of B. Take a rest if you need it. 10 of A, 10 of B. Rest, 10 of A, 10 of B, and you're done. So instead of just doing 1 exercise for its number of sets, you're doing 2 exercises before you take a rest break. And some people will do giant sets where it's 3 or 4 exercises that they're running through, which almost makes it interval training, but remember, interval training, you're not really resting, whereas supersets, you can take those rest breaks in between sets. And we are all done with episode number 1 of Ask Steph. Episode number 2, I need your questions. So go to beautifultothecore.com, subscribe, submit your questions, and I cannot wait for episode number 2. So thanks for joining me, and remember, you are beautiful to the core.